All right. Good morning once again. You said we stop at Python functions, right?
Mm.
Is I want you to respond quick so that I can. Did you stop at Python function?
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to see your screen so that I would know the extent of it we have gone. So if you can share your screen. Okay. This was when we were trying to understand Python basic functions. So that is not the function that I am referring to. So these are basic commands. Okay, I think and we were able to create the kind of application that helps us to calculate a bill. So this was the last thing we did on Python, right? So stop sharing. Hmm. So like I was saying, it shows that we are still, would I say, the elementary level of Python. So which means that we have learned just few couple of basic Python commands like print, which is used to display value on screen. It also shows that we have learned how to create variable, which are containers used in storing values within the program memory. And for what you just showed me now, is also mean that we have learned how to collect data from users using the input function. So trying to summarize everything we have learned under the basic Python command that led to that application development. So we needed to see how we can implement it. That was what led to that particular script you just showed me now. So check your notes if there's any place where we have discussed data types in Python. Check data type in Python. I just want to be sure if we are. Please, I want you to respond fast. Have we done anything data types? I don't think so. Have we? You are muted.
Okay, I think I don't hear what you said.
Okay, so have we done anything like data type, data type, data type?
Yes,
So what are the data types we discuss?
string, integer, boolean, and the rest.
I want them to be mentioned, not the rest. I want to know if I'm done with that topic.
Um, String, float, integer, boolean.
Okay, so which means that we have only completed Python basic data type. Now remember I told us that data type can be divided into two categories. We have the primitive data types, then we have the composite data type. So under the primitive data type, that is where we have the string, that is where we have the numbers, that is where we have the boolean, that is where we have the undefined. So I'm taking the class from data type, but the focus will be on advanced data type. So data type, I want us to be documenting data types in Python.
Can you use my PyCharm with scene expired?
Hmm? You say
My PyCharm, I cannot use it with scene expired.
it has expired.
Yes, I cannot use it.
That means you install a pro version. What you do is that you install and go and look for community version. Like this one that I'm using now is also a trial version, but once it's about to expire, I will. Actually, it was just a mistake. I thought I selected the community version that does not expire. So, but I'm going to update it. So all you need to do is just to uninstall it, then go back to the process you install it from. Then make sure you choose community version. So data types which means you will just be documenting, use your pen and biro so that once you sort that out, you can implement your code. So data types in programming or in Python programming rather. Python programming. Python programming. So like we have established before now, data types are different kind of information that a programmer work with, which means that we cannot write programs without using or engaging data types. So that is why every programmer must start after understanding variables. The next topic is that he or she should know what data types are, because these are the informations you work with. And again, in the process of learning them, you understand the rules that guides programmer when working with any of the data types. So we did mention that data type can be divided into two broad types, where we have the first category as the primitive, data type. So under the primitive data type, that is where we have like string, which you mentioned, which also mean text. That is where we have numbers. That is where we have boolean. That is where we have undefined. So all these falls under the basic or the primary data type. So the best way we could understand these primary data types is for us to play with them with variables, to hold them in variable and see how we can perform different operations with this same data type, which we have done. I've taught us how you can store string in a variable, which involve the quotation, either the single one or the double. You have also been taught how to store numbers in a variable, that is, does not require the quotation, just like you say equals to 90. So this is number. So you as a programmer, you have an understanding that, oh, I am working with number type. That is the reason why you ensure that it does not carry the quotation. So we've discussed all that. Now, like I said, this section, I am focusing on advanced Python, advanced data type, advanced data type. So we are focusing on this, Python advanced data type. So what do we mean by advanced data type? How do we define them? So Python advanced data type are data types that can hold multiple values. I hope you are with me. They are data types that can hold multiple values. Now, if you look at the variable concept, for example, when we created a variable, let's say first name, and we assign a value, let's say string value. Let's say I put Prosper here. You can say that this variable can only hold one value. It can only hold one value. So if I put a comma here now and I say this, and then let's try printing it. Let's try printing, print F name, print F name. So if I run it, let's see what we are going to output. So you can see that it outputted what? Prosper and the number. But the truth is that this is not the proper way of storing this kind of multiple value in a variable. If you go to the memory location where Python has stored Prosper and number, you will discover that this is only the value that is stored. So we are not expected to use variable to hold more than one value. Now, well, that actually makes programming very difficult before now, that you have to create so many variables before you can accommodate multiple information. For example, I want to capture your biodata. If I do not understand the advanced data types, then what I'm going to be doing is that I'll create a variable to store your first name, create a variable to store your middle name, create a variable to store all your details, the state you are from, your age, your height, and all of that. So in programming before now, that was seen as over-engaging the program memory. It makes the program to be too busy. That is why you see most of the old programs, they are very slow because of the mode of programming they used. But these days programming, once you want to hold multiple value, you consult this advanced data type. So their general characteristics is that they are used to hold multiple value. They are used to hold multiple values. They have common characteristics. They are used to hold multiple value. So which means when you get to that point in programming where you want to store multiple information about an object in one storage, you start involving the advanced data type. So let's quickly look at their example of this advanced data type, and then we are going to take them one after the other. So example, we have the first one as Python list. Then we have a tuple. We have a dictionary. We have dictionary. We have sets. We have sets. So these are basically the advanced data type in Python. So we must know how to use this container that can hold multiple values. So like I just explained before, they have this one common character. And what is the common character or attribute they all have? They can all store multiple value. Now, the mode at which they hold this value is what differentiated them. So we are going to start with the first one. So we are going to start with what? Python lists. So we are starting with Python list. So how do we define Python lists? Python list is used for storing multiple values. Python list is used for storing multiple values. That is number one. Right? So if we are talking about multiple value, then we need to look at how does it store this value. That will take us to the Python list syntax. Remember, I always emphasize understanding the syntax of doing things in programming. It helps a lot. So if I say Python list syntax, I'm talking about the rules, the formats, the rules that guides us when we are declaring lists, when we are creating lists. What type of bracket is involved? How are you expected to store the value in the what? The list. So it starts with the name of the list. So I can say what? List name. Starts with the list name. And then, of course, we are still using the assignment operator, which is equals to. So this is just like a version of variable that holds multiple values. Sometimes persons will define this advanced data type as another type of variable that holds multiple values. I hope you are following. Let me get the rest one. Hope you are hearing me clearly. Okay, yes, you are hearing me. So now, now that we understand that, the next part of list is that since we are like grouping multiple values, we need to use a bucket to hold it. So we cannot just come here now and say string and put one value. That is no longer a variable. So you have to use square brackets like this. You have to use square brackets like this to hold the values. So now we are still going to be borrowing those variable concepts. When you were storing string in the variable, you were recognizing them with what? The quotation. When you were storing numbers in a variable, you were not putting the quotation. So the same thing, if you are storing any of those primitive data in your advanced data type, that same principle is what involved. So if I want to create a list of numbers, I am creating a list of numbers. So I am going to just mention the numbers and then what? Put a comma. That is all. So which means that I will have created 3 different variables just because I want to hold value 90, 80, and 70. But now I have used one list to hold all the values. So let's look at the practical example. Let's say the name of my list is list 1, and then equals to, then the square bracket, and then I mention them. So this is a list of numbers. This is a list of numbers. So let's say I go this way. All right? So now the next thing is that how do we print the list value? So we can use Python command print, and then we just simply call the name of the list, list 1. And then you output. So you are going to see that the values will be outputted. So that is how you can print Python list values. So there are some concepts that we learned the other time, which I'm going to deploy here. For example, we are asked to print 90. Can you tell me how we can access, how do we access its particular value or a specific value? We don't want to print all the lists of numbers. We just want to access 90 from that list. How do we print it? I know we have treated a topic regarding to how you can answer this question. So how do we print out 90 from that list?
You do.
You said
90 is 0.
you say 90.
90 is 0.
Okay, 90 is 0. What concept are you trying to use here?
The first value is 0.
Which
You
in
is
programming is called what? That process of accessing value using their numerical positioning number. What is it called in programming? Do you have an idea of what it's called?
I don't remember.
Okay, so that is called indexing. That is called indexing. So which means that we recognize that each of these values in the list has a numerical what number representing or indicating their position, where the first item is always at 0. And then if I ask you, the second one is 1. This one is going to be 2, while this is going to be 3. Then of course, this will be 4. And then I also want to ask, what logic does programming uses to make this one, the first item, 0? How does it arrive at making this first one to be 0 as against our mathematical order? Okay, now, the way programming counts count positive values is that the first one, it counted 0 before it. So it used the number before a number to do the counting. So why is the 90 at 0? Because you count nothing before you count 90. Now, if you want to count 80, you must have counted 90 as 1. That is why 80 is what? 1. If you want to count 60, you must have counted 90 and 80 before you count. That is why it is 2. So let's understand that rule in programming. All right. So now I want to print 90. It means that I'll simply say print because I want it to be outputted. I will say print, then I will call the name of the bucket, which is the list where I want to access that individual values from. So I will say list 1, and then square bracket because I want to pick. I am picking. I want to pick one of the value, and I have identified the index number to be what? 0. And that sorts it out. So if I run it now, that should print out only what? 90. So that is you accessing individual value from your Python lists. Now, what about if I want to access a value from the negative side to the positive? Because values are arranged positively from the left to the right. So which means that if we are going from the left, we can say we are accessing them with a positive number. What about if we are asked to access them from the right to the left? That is what we call negative indexing. The one I did now is called positive indexing. So once you go the other way around, then you have to be using negative sign. For example, if I want to print 50 from the negative side, or from my right to my left hand side, I am going to say list 1, sorry, Okay, so like I was saying, I am going to say list one. I'm going to say list one, then square brackets, and then start with a negative sign, -1. Please, let's take note of this in Python programming, that when you are accessing value from the right to the left, the first value is not at 0. It is only when we are accessing from the left to the right that the first value is at 0. So if I execute this code now, we are going to access what? 50. So there is another way we can access value. We can access value in range. We can access value in range. For example, I want to access value at 0 index to value at 3 index. How do I do that? That is from 0, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 4. That is called slicing. That is called slicing in Python. Once you begin to access then a range. So for example, I was okay, I want you to print the value at 0 index through, you put that colon, through index 4. Now, always remember that the last one, which is the end selection value, will always be sliced. You are not going to see it. So, can you tell me the number of items that will be outputted if I run this code? Are we going to see 4 numbers or 3 numbers?
From 0 to 60.
Yeah, okay, good. So let me run it and see what we get. We say it stops as 40 because we say what? From 0 to what? Normally, we are supposed to get 5 items. I hope you know that. We are supposed to get 5 items. If we say 0 to 4, we are supposed to get 5 items. But instead, we are getting 4 because the fifth one will always be destroyed. It's just like your cut. That particular place the cutlass is landing will be destroyed. So that is what is happening here. So we need to understand all this printing logic. So the next thing we want to look at is that how do we add elements to our list? So I just wanted us to understand those logic because you must know how to work with them when you are dealing with what? Any of these advanced data type, particularly list and dictionary or tuple. Now, the next thing we want to look at now is how do we add? Supposing you have created a list just like I have done now, and after some time, I'm asked to update this particular list. That is, I am asked to add extra. Now, and I don't want to go hard coding. What we call hard coding is where you trace that list back and go and start maybe here now. You will not trace it back and start adding it. No, you don't need to do that. You have to go soft coding. Soft coding is you using logic or function or method to send the value to that list and then update it and then continue to print the right information in it. So like I said, we are looking at how to make sure you are documenting since you are not writing in the class, how to add new elements to Python lists. In other words, how to update without manually going to the list. So I can use a format to send a value. Right now, just to explain, to add new elements, use append. So these are the functions we are trying to expose you to. Append. Use append. So it's a function in Python that is used to add. And the criteria for it adding is that it can only add one item. So the moment you want to add more than one, we are going to use another function. For example, now I am asked to add 200. And when you are using this function, it adds to the end of your list. You cannot use it to add to the beginning. You cannot use it to add to space, maybe particular position in between two values. It can only add after the what? The last element. So there are functions we are going to look at. If you want to add to a specific position or you want to add to the beginning, there are different functions for that. But for this append, can only add after the last element. So what is the syntax on how to use it? Now, this is just like you saying that I have an existing container. I want to add more things inside. You must call that container before you put anything inside. So that is why the syntax is that if I want to add to that list one, I must come back and say list one. I must come back and say list one. Then I will now concatenate. That concatenation in Python programming is denoted with dots. And in programming, that dot is called period. All right, so once you have concatenated, followed by the function. And then if you look at the function syntax, it says self and what? Object. So when we get to object-oriented programming aspects, you will now understand what all those syntax are bringing. So now, here, what are you appending? That is, you have selected that container and you want to attach. Now, the same rules that we follow when we were storing value in string, when we're storing string value and number value. If you are adding more string, maybe is a string list, a list that is holding text or character. You have to put the value you are adding in quotes. But this is a number list. So which means if I'm adding another number like 200, I don't need to quote it. Then this is updating. Now you need to reprint. You need to reprint to acknowledge. Why am I going to reprint? If I want to reprint this list one, and see if this 200 would have been added after 50. So you have to reprint each time you update like this. Reprinting, you just print that same list one. You just print that same list one, sorry. Print list one. So by the time I run it, I'll check if the 200 has been added. So you can see that what? We have successfully added the 200 without us manually coming here. But that doesn't mean that you'll be seeing it here. But as far as this container, this list is concerned, these are the values you have inside. I hope that is clear. Let me get a response. I hope we are following. Hello? I'm just wondering if you are hearing me. Can you hear me? Okay. So now we have just learned how to update our list, how to add additional elements to the list. At the end, what about if we want to add, and again, I told you that the extend, sorry, the append, note, the append can only add one element per time. can only add one element per time. Now, if we want to add multiple value at the same time, let's say I want to add to that list 2,000, 1,000, 3,000 at the same time. So that is also to add multiple values to Python lists. To add multiple value to Python list, command use extend function. You use extend what? Function. You use extend function. So, and what is the syntax? The syntax is going to be, what is the syntax? The syntax is going to be, so let's say add 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000 to list 1. So like I explained before, you are going to call that container that you want to update, and then you are going to concatenate. This time around, we are concatenating what? Extend function. All right. Now, because you are adding more than one, you are going to select them with the square brackets. So I'll put square brackets inside that what? Extend bracket, just to say that, okay, I'm adding group of numbers. Then I will also follow the principle of storing numbers in a variable by saying, okay, they are just number, I don't need to quote them, comma, 3,000, comma, and then 4,000, then and so forth. Now, like I said, each time you update like this, you must reprint so that we check whether these 3 values will have been added. So I'll do print list 1 again. I'll print what? List 1. So let's run the code and see what we get. Perfect. So you can see that we have been able to add multiple values to our list at the same time. Now, all of the above method, all the method I've used so far, cannot add to specific position. This one is adding to what? They are all adding to the end. What about if I am asked to add value to this list, but I want it to become the first value? That instead of having 19 at 0 index, I want 150 to come first. You cannot use append. You cannot also use extend to achieve that. So we are going to use another function. So how to add values to specific. I hope you are writing down your code though, because you say your Python, you are supposed to be practicing in the class, but you have to document so that before the next meeting, you must have executed all this. Now, how to add, is supposed to be add. How to add values to a specific position in Python list. How do I add to a specific location? So here you are going to use another function called using inserts function. So once the task is to add a value to a specific location, you don't use append, you don't use extend. you use insert. You use insert. So what we are going to do here is the syntax is the same thing. So we are going to call, so let's say the task is add 150 at the beginning of list 1 element. So the syntax is going to be, we are going to call back that particular container, and then we are going to concatenate insert. We are going to concatenate what? Insert. So if you look at the syntax, it says self value start stop. So now insert, that is not the one I'm looking for. So insert. Now inside the insert parenthesis bracket, you use that same index concept. That same index concept. Now, since you are saying you want to add it at the beginning, which means that you have to say 0 first, then you put a comma. That 0 means I want it to be the fourth element. The comma means I want to declare what you are to put at the first position. So if it is a string, then you quote it. If it's a number, you don't need to quote it. Let's say I'm just adding 9,000. So once I have to reprint, like I said, each time you are done with this, you have to reprint for you to see the updates. So I'm reprinting the same list 1. So if I click here now, you see that we have been able to what? To add it to the beginning. So you can choose your position and use this function to add, right? So the next thing, do you have any question? Any question, please? Any question? You have question, please ask. Do you have question? I don't know. I can't really hear you.
Hmm?
Do you have question?
No.
Okay. So now the next thing we've looked at how to add. Now I want to learn how to remove. If I have created a Python list and I'm asked to remove a particular item or element from the list, how do we go about that? So that equals to how to remove list elements. How to remove list elements. How do we remove list elements? Right? So to remove, we are going to use a function called remove. So using remove function. So we are leveraging on this function here. All right. So the syntax is that you always reference the list that you want to update. You want to remove an item from, and then you concatenate the function remove. Now, the particular item you want to remove must be identified. For example, now I am removing 900. So I will just say I'm removing 900. So you must know the item you want to remove. And then you have to reprint and see whether by the time it prints out the content, 900 is no longer there. So let's print the list 1 again, just to check if we still have it there or not. If I run it, you see that what? Successfully, we have removed the item. So you must know how to add, you must know how to remove. So just before we proceed, we have looked at how to add with append, how to add with extend, how to add with insert, and then finally how to remove. Now the next one is sorting and reversing. If you have items in a list and you want them to be rearranged in Python standard, how do we achieve that? So we have function for that, sorting and reversing list element. Sorting and reversing what? List elements. So that's supposed to be ascending and descending. One is doing the work of ascending, the other one is doing the work of what? Descending. Right? So when you use just sort, that is ascending. When you use reverse, that is to go back, that's the other way around. So if I want to, for example, I want to sort the item in list 1. So I will just say list 1 dot sort. List 1 dot sort. All right. And you are not putting anything inside it. So if I print this, if I print, sorry, I didn't complete this. If I print the list 1 again, I'll see the arrangement of the items there after sorting. So if I say list 1 again, then let me print. So you can see that the arrangement have changed. The arrangement have changed. We are now having 40. So this is, now, if I decided to do something like this, list 1 dot reverse list 1 dot reverse. List 1 dot reverse, and then I print again. I print list 1 again, list 1 again. Then let's see what we are going to get. So it's what? Switch. So that's why I told you that one is for ascending, then the other one is for descending. So that brings us to the end of Python lists, but we are going to look at list concatenation as the last one before I show you where getting all these functions from. So we have a lot of them. All these are methods that can be used to manipulate the values of lists. There are so many of them, but I just paraphrase on the important one. So the last topic under Python lists, probably before we look at another type of data, is how to concatenate. How to concatenate lists. So concatenation means joining, combining. That is what it means. So you can have list A, you can have list B, and join them together to form another list. So how do we do that? We have, I can just create maybe list 3. List 3 is a list of string. I'll say, okay, laptop, comma, keyboard, comma, mouse. So let's say I have my list 1 with this, then, sorry, my list 3. List 4 is equals to maybe flash drive. Flash drive. Right. Right. Paper. Let's see. Now, we have these two lists. So if the task is that concatenate list 3 and 4, that is, we have to join them together. Concatenate list 3 and list 4 to form a new list entirely. So which means that you are going to say list 5. You are going to say list 5 because it's a new list entirely. You're going to say list 5, and then you will now equals to, then you call them. You can see that the syntax has already shown you here. So you will just say list 3, then you put your plus, you say list 4. Now, this is an update, so you have to reprint. You have to print list 5. So you can see that Python here has already suggested what to do. Print list 5. Then if I run it, see that you print all of them according to the order I selected them. All right, so this is what we are supposed to learn for. We're supposed to take the first class, we are supposed to just learn the list and all these functions that are attributed to it. So it is because you are not practicing, but I'm still going to stop here so that you can digest them. But the last thing I still want to show you is that how do you even check where I am getting these functions from? Any of these methods, if you want to know the functions that are connected to them that you can use to manipulate their value, just like we have been doing since, this is what you do. You just say print, which I want you to exploit as you do your assignment for the next meeting. You say print, I will say what? dir is a function again, and then inside it, I'll supply what I want to print, its attributes and functions. So it's Python list that we want to check the functions that are available. So if I print, see what is going to happen. So it will print all these functions. So let's identify some of them that we have used. Let's identify some that we have used. So you can see we use reverse, we use sort, we use insert. So all this one now, your assignments, go and exploit them. We still have copy that not you still have count, we still have index, we still have pop, we still have, so you can see this is how you can check. Or you can go to Python documentation. This is one of the reasons why Python is the most used language, because it has a very robust documentation. It has a large community. There are a lot of places where you can get help from. So you shouldn't be a Python programmer and you are stranded. So once you don't understand something, there are multiple places where you can get it. So if I don't want to get it from the terminal there, I will just come to Google and say what? Python list documentation. Python list documentation. So you see all the information we are exploring. So you can get them from different websites. We have W3 School, one of the websites for beginners, where you can learn simple programming or maybe Python syntax. So I can say, okay, let me go there and check what they documented there. And then under list, you can see some of the things we have done. So this particular platform is rich for beginner to less simple Python coding. So you can see this is documentation. All those things that we are learning, accessing this item, you have a section that talk about them. You can see accessing negative indexing that I explained, changing item. So the documentation will expose you to what and what you are expected to. So you can come here, your assignment, make sure that adding this item and all of that. So I am going to stop here. You are supposed to be practicing alongside, but you said your ID is not working. So what you do is that I want to allow us to go and initialize all these list manipulation function before we continue. So the next class, we shall be looking at another advanced data type. But because this one is the mother of all of them, once you understand this one, the next class we can finish even 3 of them. But this one is very primary that you must understand first. Any question before I end the call? Any question? I don't know whether we are still having a delay issue. I thought the network is good now. Do we have any question? Okay, so I will assume you are hearing me. There's no question.
Yes.
So you have question?
No, no, no.
Okay. All right. So please make sure you practice this. Like I said, uninstall that one that has expired. Go and download community version. For example, you say download PyCharm. You see this one. This is the one you should download. The one that have community, not the one that say pro. Make sure that the one you are downloading has community. If you are downloading this one, it doesn't expire. Because there are 2 types, community and pro version. But you have to first of all uninstall that one. All right, so see you in the next class. Bye for now.